Oh, that you would tear open the heavens and come down so that the mountains would quake at your presence. As when fire kindles brushwood and fire causes the water to boil, to make your name known to your adversaries, so that the nations might tremble at your presence. There's an ongoing argument amongst scholars about when this passage was written. Assigned to a prophet we call 3rd Isaiah, it could have been written during the exile, when Jerusalem was conquered by King Nebuchadnezzar and the people were taken en masse to Babylon to be slaves. Or it could have been written during the Reconstruction, when King Cyrus the Great of Persia sent the people home to Jerusalem to build again. I choose the exile, while the people are slaves in Babylon, for it is clear that the prophet cries out not on behalf of God, but on behalf of the people. They remember the past. They remember the time when they were slaves before. They remember how God delivered them from Pharaoh's hand. So on behalf of the people, the prophet pleads, where is the one who put within them his Holy Spirit, who caused his glorious arm to march at the right hand of Moses, who divided the waters before them to make himself an everlasting name, who led through the depths? Like a horse in the desert, they did not stumble. Like cattle that go down into the valley, the Spirit of the Lord gave them rest. Thus you led your people to make for yourself a glorious name. Oh, that you would tear open the heavens and come down, so that the mountains would quake at your presence, as when fire kindles brushwood and fire causes the water to boil, to make your name known at your adversaries, so that the nations might tremble at your presence. This is their hope. Hope. Someone said to me this week, without hope in God, we are nothing. But hope isn't as easy as it sounds. We are in trouble. We know that it's true. The news comes to us day in and day out, demonstrates our dilemma. We are lost in ourselves. We are enslaved to our avarice and pride. We seek to wield power like a sword, striking against our enemies, seen and unseen. We find our power unsatisfying, divisive, working against God's plan to bring reconciliation to the peoples. The world we live isn't broken. We are broken. We are taking the world down with us. And most of our brokenness will never be known to newspaper readers or TV watchers or radio listeners. Most of it is born quietly in the midst of our everyday lives. Oh, that you would tear open the heavens and come down, so that the mountains would quake at your presence. It would be easier, wouldn't it, if God would just take matters into God's own hands. But this is the message of Christmas, that God has taken things into God's own hands. Christmas proclaims that God is God, that God cares, that God has torn open the heavens and come down. It's just that God's coming isn't what we expected. We wanted a king, a leader, a president, if you will, a pastor even, someone with the power to lead us out of Egypt and into the promised land. That's not what we got. We wanted quaking mountains and blazing fires and trembling nations, but that's not what we got. We wanted a glorious arm to march at our side, to divide the waters before us, to lead us through the depths, but that's not what we got. What we got was a baby, born in a manger and wrapped in swaddling cloths. What we got was a carpenter's son, who grew up as a peasant, who had no power or influence. What we got was the rejected preacher, the betrayed teacher, the naked man on a cross. What we got was an invitation to place our hope in him, to follow, to follow. To follow. We were waiting for our second child to be born. My wife took part in an ultrasound study. In the doctor's office ultrasound was still somewhat of a novelty then. The question was whether the use of ultrasounds on a regular basis would help doctors find and detect early problems within the pregnancy. For us, it was just that. Almost as soon as they could hear a heartbeat, they knew that there was a problem. The heart was unbalanced. One side of the heart was larger than the other. This could mean one of two things. It could mean absolutely nothing. This could be what is called a normal abnormality. Or it could mean that the baby's arteries and veins were cross-connected, that the baby would be born blue and the baby would be rushed off to surgery in an effort to save its life. Well, the baby was born on June 9th, 1991. She was pink and healthy. She was pink and healthy. If it's a baby in our family, it's a she. 4 daughters, 2 granddaughters. What are the odds of that? She, Julia by name, was pink and healthy. We would learn later that my father has the same misshapen heart. Who knows, I may have the same misshapen heart. Nobody's ever done an ultrasound on me. It turned out to be a normal abnormality for our family. But I tell you, the delivery room was not where hope was born. It was not where hope was fulfilled. Hope was born in the day we went for the first ultrasound in the hospital, some 3 months before Julia's birth. We had never met the specialist we were to see. We had no idea what was going to happen. So we sat afraid in the basement of St. Vincent's Hospital, waiting. Then we heard our names, Dale, Shelley. And we looked up to see Merle Pigg, one of the elders of our church, coming to greet us. Somehow she had tracked us down. And she sat down beside us and she prayed for us and for our baby. That's when hope was born. That's when we remember that ours is a loving God who held us and held our baby in God's hands. That's when we remember that whether or not we would ever hold our baby, we knew that God held our baby. And God held us. That's when we remember that God knows what it is to lose a child. And we cried, and hope was born. Henry Nouwen writes, I keep expecting loud and impressive events to convince me and others of God's saving power. Our temptation is to be distracted by them. When I have no eyes for the small signs of God's presence, the smile of a baby, the carefree play of children, the words of encouragement and gestures of love offered by friends, I always remain tempted to despair, to wait with expectancy. This is hope. To be patient amidst trial. This is hope. To look toward the saving acts of God. This is hope. To hold fast to the promise of the fulfillment of God's kingdom here and now. This is hope. Oh, that you would tear open the heavens and come down so that the mountains would quake at your presence. And when the heavens were torn open, and when God did come down, God said, behold, my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. This is our hope. And whenever this hope is made flesh, and even the smallest of loving gestures, Christ is born. We have given